Good evening, everybody. I'll call a meeting to order. Meeting of the Carver Select Board for Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. This meeting is being cablecast by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 15, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. There are openings on several committees. Please refer to the front page of our website for a listing and application. If we could all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Cotter, if you would read our community prayer.
Sure. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek. And keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, the first item on our agenda this evening, as always, is citizens' participation. Are there any members of the public here this evening that would like to speak to the board? Sir? If you could just identify yourself for the board and please speak to something on the agenda.
Okay, well then that's,
Oh.
take care of that.
But that's our agenda policy has always been to speak to an item on the agenda. Sorry, sir. All right. Next. Mr. Badger?
Good evening, Dan Badger, 165 Plymouth Street. Three things, real quick. There are more questions. First, I noticed on the agenda you're going to be talking to some applicants for the Conservation Commission, and while I'm on it, I don't want to steer the decision making in any direction, but I was curious to take the temperature of this body to see if this body thought that the bylaws that currently exist are robust enough for protecting our resources, and what members thought about that. Maybe not answering that so much tonight, because that's a sort of a big question and a big answer. The second thing I wanted to bring up was the North Carver Water District, and while I know there's a report on that, I always feel funny asking questions before things are going to be discussed, but I know that's for time management purposes. I get that. I wanted to find out if there is, in fact, a working body or plans to have a working body to discuss operations for the actual system, long-term funding planning, a proactive testing plan in place, and beyond that, a proactive treatment plan, and if there's an expert that's been hired or somebody to oversee that, and if they have a background in water filtration. The third, while I know in the past the Select Board has expressed a commitment to affordable housing and resources, one thing that has come up, not only for affordable housing, but for other resources that groups like recreation, the arts and music have expressed interest in, is our locations for meeting, for having an art gallery, for community centers, and the list goes on. I've brought this up in the past, and I wanted to find out if at some point there could be a discussion at a future meeting to create a mechanism of communication between departments to identify not just need that is already known, but better communication between departments to have an actual mechanism for not necessarily setting aside a property or setting aside a building, but understanding that when or if categorically this type of said building with square footage comes up, that that group or entity is informed of that, and if it is a potential place for seniors or a potential place for a community center, that is something that we can know that's in the queue or something. For example, I know there are certain buildings that would be an excellent space for a recreation center, except one particular property is locked into having another 8 years till the lease is up.
Yeah, forgive me, Mr. Badger, but I don't think there's anything on the agenda that relates to,
For affordable housing?
yeah, not this evening, no.
Habitat for Humanity.
That's
purchase
just a
and sale.
confirmation, that's just a review of the purchase and sale for Green Street. I'm sure, yeah, there's really nothing on the agenda that relates to that.
Well, okay, I'll respectfully disagree that there is a connection, but if you feel it's out of sync with tonight's agenda, then I'll bother you a different time about that. All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Kara
Cahill.
Dayhill, 43 Miles Standish Drive, Carver, your town clerk. I'm just here because I happened to catch on the agenda, it's in Bob's town administrator update, that you will be receiving my resignation as the record access officer. So I just wanted to take a moment just to speak, to let everyone know why I resigned. It was a really hard thing to decide, but with the pressures of the last two elections and the election laws changing, I just physically could not keep up with the records requests that were coming in. So to do it good service and to keep up with my statutory duties of the elections, I was forced to resign. I just have one little suggestion when you go to discuss this, that there can be a primary and a secondary record access officer, and I think that that would serve the town the best. That way, when these peaks come up, when, such as myself, when I was overwhelmed with the work of the election, someone else could step in and take over as the record access officer. And, God forbid someone be out for an illness or a vacation or anything, at least then we have someone else that can cover it and take care of the needs. So I just wanted to mention that, and I didn't think I'd get a chance to afterwards, so.
Oh, we appreciate
Okay,
that.
yeah, and I'm going back to tally, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else? All right. We will move it on to our next agenda item, our 610 item, Dave Siedentoff, and an update on town hall siding and library HVAC repair and replacement. Mr. Fennessy, I understand Mr. Siedentoff is not able to be with us this evening,
Correct.
so we will push this off to our next
Yeah, he has
agenda.
to be placed on the next agenda.
Okay. All right, thank you. That brings us to our 615 item, our Community Preservation Committee request for appointment. Mary Ross has applied for the position. We have Mary's application in the packet. This opening has been posted on the website. Is Mary with us this evening? I don't believe she is. All right. Any thoughts from the board on this?
Would you like me to read her application?
Absolutely, thank you.
It's for the Community Preservation Committee. I've represented Carver Recreation Committee on CPC for many years. Recently, I stepped away from the CPC to give another member of the Rec Committee an opportunity to serve on the CPC. The CPC has lost two of its longtime members due to personal reasons, and I am applying for an at-large voting position. I feel my knowledge of the workings of the committee would be an asset. Mary E. Ross.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint Mary Ross as the at-large applicant for the Community Preservation Committee.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just had a quick question. Mr. Fennessy, do you know, is there two openings on this?
There are, yeah,
So,
there's multiple openings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there'll be one opening after we appoint. She'll be appointed,
Yes.
Ms. Ross, right?
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. All right, our next item, and we're a little early on this, is if Conservation Commission, a request for appointment. We have 3 applicants here. It's 6:10 now. This was scheduled for 6:20. Are all of the applicants here with us this evening?
Is that for the community, the conservation?
Conservation Commission?
Yeah, I'm Patricia Cooning.
Okay, Patricia Good, I see Bruce Mackey and Curtis, okay, so we can move forward with this. Ms. Cooney, you're first in our packet. Would you like to step up and say a few words?
Hello.
Thank you.
So I am a lifelong resident, basically, of Carver. I grew up here. I've watched it change. You know, it's moving in a direction where, you know, the environment's very important, but it's also important to have, you know, an economy come into the town. I love farming. I love doing stuff like that. And I think it's really important to have a younger generation be able to step up. You know, I would hope that if people see me moving into things and we get more involvement from the town, I think that's really important. I really enjoy working with the environment, and I see the benefit of having a decent economy with the environment. And I think you can really do that, but you have to walk a thin line and keep, you know, our ecosystem intact so we can have resources for a long time. Because if we don't do that and we kind of run amok with stuff, then you get into some issues, definitely. So I think I would be a good, you know, person to put into this. I have young children in this town. We homeschool. I have animals myself. So I kind of see how the systems work with each other, and it's a symbiotic relationship. You can't pay attention more to one thing and let other stuff lack. So I would really appreciate, you know, getting put on this and learning, you know, what exactly goes on and how to do my best to help the town.
Well, thank you, and I'll say this to all 3 members of the board. Now, I guess, rather than saying it 3 times, we have 3 applicants and we have 1 opening. So I hope for the 2 that don't be appointed, you'll consider applying for some of the many other openings we have on boards and committees here in town, because we need as much resident involvement
Yeah.
as we can, and we certainly appreciate your stepping up and applying for this
Yeah.
position. Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Cooney? Ms. Ewens?
I do. I'm just wondering what sort of environmental experience you have, particularly regulatory?
So like I said, I'm new to this, and I honestly don't have very much, but I'm here to learn things. And, you know, I think that's what it takes, is having that goal to be able to say, all right, I don't know exactly everything, but I'm here, and, you know, I can be put into the right direction to be able to find information. I've always been very interested in, you know, trying to keep things in pristine condition, but obviously, you know, there's regulations, different things that you need to know, and I feel as though I'm a pretty quick learner, you know, and like he said, if I don't get appointed to this, I plan on becoming a more influential person in the town, because we need to. You know, how many people are here right now? We have a young person, but you don't see a lot of young, I mean, I'm not super young, but, you know, I have young children. I have a lot of responsibility, but this is something that's important to me, and I will put that in, you know, a high priority for me to be able to learn what I need to learn, because it's important, you know, and it really needs to have more people get involved in it. And having the homeschool community, you know, a lot of us want to get involved in this, but, you know, it's just a lot for people, but you got to prioritize, you know, so.
So I have one more question, if I may. So I just want you to be aware that the Conservation Commission takes site walks before each hearing. So they take them at 10 a.m. on the Wednesday of each hearing. I don't know what your availability is for that.
I have, you know, like I said, I have children, but I have children that range from 6 to 14 and 16. So I have, and my grandparents are in town. Like I said, I'm local. We've lived on Bow Street for the last 37 years. I've lived in Carver my whole life. So I have plenty of support to be able to make it out to these, because I don't have, you know, a go-to job. I stay home and take care of the kids, and we have a pretty good schedule with homeschooling, so I'm very available to be able to do what is needed for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I always like to ask, how did you find out about the opening?
I watch the websites because, like I said, it's I have young kids, but now they're old enough, that I can step away, and I have a passion for this. I think it's important for people to get involved in the systems. You can't sit there and complain about things but not be involved in it. And so, watching the websites and seeing what comes up, because you have to get yourself in somewhere. You got to learn, you got to start somewhere. You can't just know all this stuff off the bat. So, just paying attention to the websites, following. I've been to different meetings and everything. So I'm starting out, I'm getting my foot in the door. So
You have to start somewhere.
exactly. And that's what I'm hoping, that more people, like you said, there's so many openings and people in town complain about this and complain about that, but you don't see the parking lot packed with people. Shame on us for just sitting back and, oh, I'm too busy. We all have lives to live, but if you want to change things, you have to step up and start doing stuff. So
Right. Thank you. Anyone, Ms. Bogart, did you have anything else? Yeah, anyone else? Mr. Carter?
Couple of questions. Since you're, you mentioned you were a lifelong resident, from a very high level, what do you think from a conservation perspective, like we're doing well versus what do you think we have to improve upon?
I mean, I see such potential for, all of these cranberry people. They have a lot of land. And as you can see, we have a lot of, potential food shortages coming up. And these people are looking for things to grow. We live in a climate where we have a decent growing system here. We're blessed with such earth. And, that would be my thing, is giving these different people that have these huge plots of land access to being able to grow more things, so then they don't have to turn to, all kinds of other stuff, and they're worrying about, trying to make the bills. We need to help them and say, hey, this is an option to be able to grow this crop because it does so well. Like I said, I farm a lot of stuff. I'm learning to grow all kinds of things. I want to go off grid eventually, and to teach people that you can grow all these types of things here, and not impact the environment in a bad way is a huge thing. Fertilizers that people use on cranberry bogs, we find out, 20 years down the line what it does to people. But there's other ways of keeping pests out of your, out of your crops. If you grow proper things for that environment, the symbiotic relationship comes back. So that's my thing, is definitely there's so much potential here. We have so many hardworking people. That's what this town is. It's a hardworking town. There's a lot of, just awesome people that if we just point everybody in a decent direction and get along with each other, that's the hardest thing. Like, I see people fighting on our town websites or the town Facebooks, and it's like, dude, you can't fight with somebody and think they're a bad person just because of the view that they have. That's my biggest thing, is trying to see everyone's point of view. And that's, having a lot of kids. We have 7 kids. So we've had to deal with a lot of, I want this, well, I want that. And, you have to try to figure out the best way to make both people happy. And, the conservation, people want to be able to make money in places, but you also have to keep that environment intact, because if you don't, we live on a huge sole source aquifer that feeds 200,000 people. And people need to be aware of that. It's a huge issue coming up. Obviously, everybody watches the news and, global warming. Well, we can start doing things on a local level right now to keep it from exacerbating the situation in a way that you can't rein it in, So I think there's definitely a lot of potential to be able to get different agricultural types of things into town, for sure.
Thank you. And one other question for you, Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if this would be to the chairman of the Conservation Commission, is what type of training does a new member get when they come on the Conservation Commission? I was just curious about.
I don't know. Savory, can you answer that?
The DEP offers a lot of training.
Yeah.
They offer a lot of training, a lot of classes.
Yeah, I would love to do that. That's what.
Massachusetts, the MAC.
Mm-hmm. Mass Association for Conservation Commissioners, yep.
The site visits are as valuable as anything else. It's just also a matter of reading and understanding the state bylaws and also the Carver bylaws, which vary in some circumstances, and understanding what our jurisdiction is and where our jurisdiction ends, and what we can and can't do regarding a bigger picture type thing. But it's on the job training more than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm totally, I love learning stuff. That's what I research a lot of things, you know, and trying to grow my own crops and trying to take care of animals, you know, doing that type of stuff. You have to kind of trial and error and get yourself out there to learn it and be up to listening to people that are around so you can absorb all their knowledge, you know.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank you.
else?
Just a quick follow-up on something you said about other kinds of agriculture. You may or may not be aware that most cranberry bogs in town are wetland bogs. And so there are only certain crops that the state will even allow you to grow on, say, abandoned cranberry bogs.
Yeah.
So it's not just a question of, you know, being able to start growing corn. You just can't
Yeah,
do
no,
that.
corn I wouldn't be interested in. It would have to be some type of rotational crop.
I just
because-
said that as an
Yeah.
example, but the DEP is pretty strict about that, the Department of Environmental Protection, just so you know.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I say it's important to know what grows well in the environment that you have, so you don't have to, you know, disrupt stuff so much. That's where research comes in, so.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Ms. Gooney.
Thank you.
All right, the next person in our packet is Bruce Mackey. So, Mr. Mackey, if you'd like to step up.
Good evening, Select Board members, Mr. Chairman. Bruce Mackey, 9 Thatcher Street. And,
Welcome back.
Yeah, I left the planning board in the spring, and I had been with the planning board for 12 years, 10 years as chair. And so I've had some time to think, you know, whether I want to do something else for the town. And so when I heard about this opportunity, I said, I thought that this is something that I know about, so that's why I'm here tonight. It's for 30 years I was in the land surveying and civil engineering business, and we had to deal with a lot of wetland issues. So I was in the field locating wetlands. I was in the office drafting plans for Conservation Commission, and I attended meetings at night going to Conservation Commissions with plans. I found the Conservation Commissions were much friendlier than the planning boards, but so I have a good knowledge of what the Conservation Commission does, and so I was just interested in this position. Having been in Carver since 1974, so in 2 years it'll be 50 years in Carver, with my wife and my 2 children who have now grown and left. So it's just the wife and I in Carver here now. And I'm also available for site walks, which was a thing we did with the planning board also.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mackey? Ms. Ewens?
So you already answered one of my questions about environmental and regulatory experience, and you answered the other one. So you would be available for site walks at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday.
Oh, I'd love to.
Okay,
Yeah, I missed the site walks.
great. Okay, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Ms. Bogart?
You didn't specify, how did you hear about the opening? You just said when you heard about it, but how did you hear about it?
I heard about it when I came to Town Hall a week or two ago, when I came for the bylaw review committee. I came to pick up some papers for our next meeting, and I heard that there would be an opening on the Conservation Commission, so
Did
so
someone-
I applied.
Did you hear about it internally from like an employee here?
Yes.
Who? I like to track where people, I've always asked him where we found out about it, because it's always been, see, he knows.
Yeah.
I always want to know where we get people from, word of mouth, Facebook, everything. So who told you about it?
It was from the planning office.
Okay.
Yeah.
I track stuff.
Well,
They
that's,
always say we need to find openings.
those are the people that I visit all the time.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else?
Just looking at what you submitted for information, you currently serve as the chairman of the Solar Battery Storage Moratorium Study Committee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware of any, but are there any conflicts between that committee and the Conservation Commission? Anybody?
That's not a, the Solar Battery Committee is not a permitting committee. It's just
Okay.
a study committee.
And the same question, obviously, Mr. Mackey, you've been around for a while. You've faced a lot of issues on the planning board. From a conservation perspective, what do you think we're getting right versus what do you think we can improve on? Just high level.
Well, on the planning board, sometimes we work with the Conservation Commission. We had issues on solar projects, and so, one was conservation and one was planning, but I think that everything is being done correctly by the conservation. I think we're going in a good direction. I know there's a lot of concern in town because of the North Carver landfill and the pollution it caused, but I really haven't seen any other type of pollution like that in town since then, and that was a long time ago, and it's much better today. It's much more regulated. But during the North Carver time, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened out there, but which caused the pollution. But today, you just couldn't do stuff like that. So, no, I think we're headed in a good direction here, and I think the Conservation Commission is very careful in what they do, and so I've been happy with it. Of course, everybody's concerned about their wells in Carver because everybody has a well on their property. So, like I say, I think we're going in a good direction.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Just a quick follow-up. So, the North Carver landfill was permitted by the Department of Environmental Protection in 1950 as an unlined landfill. And you're right, that would not happen now. Right on Muddy Pond.
Right.
Great place for it.
No, it's crazy, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's made a lot of people in town very sensitive to any kind of pollution, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that there would be any kind of pollution of that sort that would happen today, because it was extended and not found for a long period of time, so it had a long time to leach into the soils and into the water table. And today, they have companies, even if there was pollution from something, that companies that come down and remediate the pollution quickly. So, but I think that's caused a lot of concern. I mean, and we heard a lot of it on the planning board, people being concerned about the water and pollution, but that was the biggest thing, I think, that caused the alarm.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Mr. Mackey. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. A third applicant for this position is Mr. Curtis Lake. Mr. Lake, how are you this evening?
Fine, how are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
You can just tell us a little bit about, you have your application, about why you'd like to be on the...
My name's Curtis Lake. I've lived in Carver for a couple years now. I've been reading a little bit about the landfill. I've been reading articles about that. The telephone poles and the bogs, I've been reading about that. So I kind of just like to get involved and be part of the, keeping things in order and whatever with as far as conservation. I don't have any experience specifically with like the bylaws and stuff like that, but I can learn quick. I can learn whatever I need to learn. I do have a career diploma in wildlife and forestry conservation, so it's a little something, a little, but I've never been able to use it. I got it several years ago, and I've never, had an opportunity to do it. So I figured, why not? I'll go try this out and see if I get in and go from there.
All right. Thank you. Questions from the board? Ms. Hewens?
Thank you. So, you said you didn't have any regulatory experience, but you have a great degree, in my opinion. Would you be available for site visits at Wednesday mornings?
I can be available, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Sorry. Right after I finished, I was like, the Carver Helping Carver Facebook page is where I found it. So.
And then I have a second one just based on your application, because you mentioned the degree you have.
It's not a degree, it's a certificate.
Okay, the diploma.
Yeah, diploma, yeah,
But then you
certificate, not a degree. Sorry. I didn't mean to say, if I said degree, I didn't mean
No,
that, sorry. Yeah.
I said it, but then you've been a member of a couple conservation groups.
Yep.
The trustees and the Audubon Society. Can you talk about those too? Because I hear conservation, I hear Conservation Commission. It seems like there's a connection.
I was never active, as far as,
Yeah.
I was just member of that, and I participated in some of their events, but I've never done any regulatory
Yeah.
things with them, so. I love being outdoors. I'm a outdoors guy. I hike, camp, fish, hunt, all that stuff, so I like anything to do with the outdoors and preserving the outdoors, so.
So why get involved now?
Well, I just, like I said, I've been reading about all the stuff going on, and then I saw the thing on the Facebook page, and I figured, why not give it a shot, see what happens, so.
Okay.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, so.
All right. Anything else? Mr. Carter?
Sure. As we talked, there's a learning, I guess, on the job training to a certain point with this, with regards to regulatory matters and whatnot. But with your experience, have you had to deal with reading site maps, delineating wetlands, things like that? Have you had any experience with that?
Site maps,
Just plans.
reading, no,
plans.
no, nothing specific, just compass and stuff like that. I was in the Boy Scouts, we did all that, but never specific plans like that, so no.
Okay. And I know you said you lived there for a couple of years, but do you have any concerns with regards from a conservation perspective, very high level, about what's going on in the town?
Nothing specific, no, I just wanted to get involved, and like I said, I saw the thing. I have no agenda, I guess, if you will, or whatever. I just wanted to get involved with the town, and I've lived here for a couple of years, like I said, and my wife's tried to get involved a little bit here and there. She ran for the school committee, and we're both trying to get more active in town. We like it here, so wanted to be more active in the community.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there anything else from the board? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lake.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
Before we move on to a discussion and a vote on this, again, I just want to reiterate, we have 3 very good applicants here, but we only have 1 position. So if unfortunately you're not the person that we choose this evening, I hope you'll review the board and committee openings that we have on the website. We have a lot of them, and consider applying for one of the others, because we really could use use your help here in town. So moving forward, discussion from the board.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that we appoint Bruce Mackey as the Conservation Commissioner.
All right. Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion to appoint Bruce Mackey. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Well, I just feel that at this point in time, we need someone who does have some experience. I'm thrilled to have these new people show up, and like you said, I really hope that they come back, if we do appoint Mr. Mackey, that the others come back and try for something else, because we need all the help we can get.
We certainly do. Okay. Anyone else?
I have to respectfully disagree with the motion, because for as long as I can remember, we say, there are so many openings, we can't get people, we need people, apply, apply, apply. And I feel like appointing Bruce is the easy, expected thing to do. And if we want to encourage new people to apply, if we have quality applicants, and I think we do here, I think we should look into appointing one of them. I think Ms. Cooney spoke with such passion. She was very honest in not knowing, and that she was open to learning, but her passion for conservation soared through the air. And Mr. Lake too, his experience in wildlife, forestry, trustees of reservation, Audubon. There's clearly a connection to conservation there. We have new people stepping forward. So if we have new people who have demonstrated interest in a committee, and we tell them thanks but no thanks, we're gonna go with what we know, it's kind of another example of telling people why bother. So it's nothing against Mr. Mackey, but I think we have, the two other candidates are also qualified, and I would like to see one of them be given a chance on the commission.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think that somewhat to what Member Bogart was saying, that I think new blood might be something to look at adding to this committee. So I think a new perspective. Both these other candidates seem qualified. So my general thought is that a new perspective might be better. Just my thoughts.
Well, I think the town is lucky that we have three very qualified candidates. Is there any other discussion before we move to a vote?
I have a question. So I know this is a 5-member board, Mr. Chairman. There are no alternate positions on this board, it's just 5 members and that's it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, we have a motion and a second to appoint Bruce Mackey to the Conservation Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
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 All right, so the motion fails.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Curtis Lake to the Conservation Commission.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to appoint Curtis Lake to the Conservation Commission. Discussion?
I could see Mr. Lake as an asset. I could see both of them as an asset. Like I said, all three of them I think were great. I appreciate Ms. Cooney. I appreciate Mr. Lake. Call me crazy, I can relate to both of you. Ms. Cooney, when you were up here, am I allowed to speak directly to
Sure.
them in the audience? I relate deeply to you as you were sitting there. You said, I'm young, I'm not so young, I'm a mom. I'm 38 years old, a girl, a mom of 2. I got involved before I was pregnant, and Ms. Hewins asked you about site visits, and Mr. Mackey will tell you, I brought both of my young daughters on countless planning board visits. So it is possible to be a mother and involved, and I love that you stepped up and that you are, and the same for you. To see people like me stepping up is encouraging, because I've looked around most of my involvement life and not seen a lot of me reflected. So it's encouraging to see that. With that said, I think Mr. Lake, you could be an asset to this, and I liked what I saw, both of you. So yeah, I think you could be great. You both could.
Any other discussion? Mr. Lake, we probably should have asked this earlier, but I just want to check before we vote. So the Conservation Commission customarily meets in the evening. You have no conflicts with that, correct? Okay, great. All right, so we have a motion and a second to appoint Curtis Lake to the Conservation Commission. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Lake. And Ms. Cooney, Mr. Mackey, thank you for stepping up as well, and we hope you'll consider some of the other openings that we have, because we have many. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just add, you should go down to the clerk's office and get sworn in, if you get a chance? Or do we need the paperwork first?
Yeah.
You can go down.
But certainly it's before their next meeting.
Which
And
is
they're
just
open till-
tomorrow night.
Which
they're
is
o-
tomorrow night, yeah.
And they're open till 7 o'clock this evening, so you could go down there right now. Thank you. All right. Moving on to our next agenda item. Review and possible vote to add financial policy statement number 10 to read, prior to the close of the warrant for each annual town meeting, the town administrator and the finance director shall review all open articles in which there remains funds to ascertain whether the remaining funds can be moved from the articles to offset deficiencies or be applied to the next fiscal year town budget. You'll remember we had a discussion on town fiscal policies a couple of meetings ago, and we all agreed that we felt we needed something to, like a sweep of available funds prior to a town meeting. That's where this wording came from. So is there a discussion here? I think this does meet what we were looking for at that meeting. Anyone? Any discussion?
Nope,
I'm fine
it
with-
looks like what
All right.
I think we discussed,
All right.
to me.
Mr. Fennessy, do you have anything to add here?
No, we didn't want to use the word sweep.
Okay.
It sounded a little strange.
Yep,
To
no, it
sweep
does.
things, sweep it under the rug, so
No.
to speak. No, so I think this wording is proper for what you're looking for.
All right. Okay, there's no discussion. Is there a motion to add this to our financial policies?
I move that we add this statement to our financial policy as number 10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Let's see, discussion and vote to set the tax classification hearing for Tuesday, November 29th, 2022 at 5 PM. Mr. Fennessy?
So the assessor had asked that we set the tax classification meeting. And that date seems a little late, but actually the assessments are still going on in town. They were delayed because of staffing with the company that we have and so forth. So an earlier date wasn't possible, but they're all available for that day. It's a Tuesday. So if we can do it on the 29th, I have the assessor here, Joe Roach. Do you want to add anything, Joe?
No, I just say thank you.
If you could, Mr.
Yeah.
Roach, if you could just step up to the microphone.
Hi, Joe Roach, I'm the assessor. Yeah, because of COVID, the company that does our inspections, they had lots of staff shortages and people being out of work. So inspections got done later this year, so we weren't able to do it, at tonight's select board meeting, and December 6th is getting a little bit close. So just your flexibility, I really appreciate it, and it would be a great help, because December 6th is getting late and doesn't leave a lot of room for error.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And just a reminder to the board, you will need your DLS Gateway passwords for this meeting. So if you don't remember what they are, go back and look. Kara can help you, Ms. Dayhill, down the town clerks if you don't recall them. Is there a motion?
I move we set the date for the tax classification hearing for Tuesday, November 29th, 2022 at 5 PM.
I'll second that.
You have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna abstain as I'm gonna be out of town.
Okay. All right, thank you. So it is 4-0-1. Thank you. Town Administrator update, Mr. Fennessy.
Okay. So the first thing I have is the Salvation Army kickoff. And you may have seen these signs around town and around Town Hall. It says the Red Kettle Kickoff, come one, come all. Please join us 3:30 to 4:30, Wednesday, November 16th. But Wednesday, November 16th is going to be a horrendously rainy day. And the Salvation Army decided to move that date to next Tuesday. That's November 22nd at 3:30 to 4:30. And it's going to be at the Town Hall gazebo outside here. And it will be a festive event with a lot of traditional holiday songs. They'll be being played by the North River Brass Band. And this is the first time the kickoff is happening in Carver. Usually it's in a bigger community like Plymouth or even Wareham or other communities. So we're proud to be hosting this whole event. And I give thanks to Lisa Erickson from the Veteran Services, who kind of coordinated this effort to get it to come here. And so there'll be songs, there'll be sing-along songs like Jingle Bells and We Wish You a Merry Christmas and so forth. And there'll also be a first drop in the kettle, which will be performed by our chair of the select board. And that kicks off the funding for the Red Kettle kickoff. And I just want to mention that all the money that they raise, the Salvation Army raises in Carver, stays in Carver to help those in need. The veterans, the elderly, food pantries, and so forth. So feel free to give as much as you can.
A lot of people don't know that.
And they don't. I didn't know that from my own edification to learn that, whatever town they receive the money in, that stays there. So we're excited to have that. So if you're around next Tuesday, and the town hall is open, stop in and then go to this event. We'd like to get as much community support for this. I think it'd be great for the Salvation Army and great for the community itself to start getting into that mode of the holidays with the music and so forth. Okay, so that's the first update. The second one, and this is for the board, I had put into the packet a draft policy of a code of civil conduct. And this is a policy that will cover committee members, commissions, boards, et cetera, as well as the employees. And it'll be a more encompassing code. And I think, I don't want to say it's needed, but it's always good to have something that others can read and rely on, that's what we, the town, not me, but the town itself, expects of any officials that work for the town or that volunteer for the town, and even to a certain extent, visitors who come into the town. So I'd like you to look at that and be critical, highlight, change, make comments, suggestions, and hopefully we can put this together by the end of this year, calendar year, and get it voted by the board. And then,
I would hope sooner than that. I would hope that we have it on one of the next couple of agendas.
well, there's only a couple left. That's why I say the by the end of the year, so. Okay, so that's the code of conduct. I did have on here to talk about the resignation of Kara Dayhill, and I appreciate her coming up and saying what she did. It's sad in a way that she had felt that she had to resign because of the overwhelming work that record requests cause to employee, staff, and to others. It's to committee members, and we seem to be getting inundated with these record requests to the point where it was physically impossible, time-wise, for her to be able to do all this. And I gotta say that she's done a great job. Kara's done a great job as record access, and that's what hurts me the most, is that she's leaving that post. But I understand it, and now that I'm doing it, and we'll be doing it in the selectman's office for a short time until I can find somebody who's willing to step up and be appointed as a record access officer. So I can understand what she went through, but it's something. I know it's there, out there now that people want to get records. I understand that. There's a transparency issue that most people want to see and know what's going on. But when it gets overwhelming with these multiple ones, a lot of times in one day, 7 or 8 will come in with multiple things on it that have to go to multiple departments, and it just gets, again, it gets overwhelming, so. So I am looking to find somebody. Might have one possibility already, and there's a suggested possibility, so. But we'll have somebody. In the meantime, in our office, sorry, Shelby, and Elaine, and Nancy and me, we'll be doing that to try and keep up with these things. Of course, it takes us away from other work that we need to do, but such is life, so. But thank you, Kara, again, for what you've done. A brief update on the North Carver Water District, and I appreciate your remarks about that, Dan. District has been working on cleaning the whole system over these months. The membranes are in. There was a delay in getting a replacement part for the well pump, and that's finally in and installed. So there's a few other maintenance things that they're doing over the next couple of weeks, and the goal is to have it ready to for operation on or about January 1st. So we're getting close. We're getting close to the end date. Dan, to your question, you talk about having groups, the group or the committees. We're fortunate that we have a new commission, basically 3 new people, and one is somebody who works in the industry for another community and has for many years. So we have that expertise and knowledge now on that board, which I think is going to help greatly. There's the experience, and we're still engaged with small water systems, and they're doing the testing and cleaning and so forth. So I feel very confident that we're moving in the right direction with North Carver Water. And again, I talked to Mike Palmieri recently, and at some point he'll come before the board and give a more lengthy update on what's happening.
Do you see us needing another joint meeting with the North Carver Water District?
A joint meeting, probably not, unless we're looking to make any changes or they want to make changes where, like, for instance, we're using ARPA funds to pay the membrane costs because they didn't have the funds. They couldn't move the funds from their funds can only be moved at town meetings. So we had to upfront the cost of that, of $200,000. And that's coming out of the ARPA funds, but it'll be replaced by the North Carver Water District at town meeting. So that was the agreement that we came to in July, so.
Could I ask a quick question? Do we plan, or does the North Carver Water District commissioners, do they plan to hire someone to kind of be even a part-time person, to be the go-to person for residents?
Yep, we've talked about that. One of the things we're looking at right now is whether John Ball, who is the facilities manager, may take on part of that duties. So there'll be that connection to the public from the town, direct connection, instead of going through the water district.
Good.
Or the small water systems, yeah, so.
Just to add on that, I think, as I recall, the large meeting we had that was very well attended by members of the public when the problems with the North Carver Water District first made themselves known. I think one of the really clear things that came out of that meeting was the need for somebody in town hall that those residents could reach out to when there was a problem and know who to go to and get an answer. And I think that's a real priority.
Yeah.
I think when the North Carver Water District is up and running, we need to have someone identified, even if it may not be a permanent person. At least someone in town hall needs to be identified that the North Carver residents can reach out to if there's a problem.
Yeah, and I agree. One of the problems they had was, who do we call? And they would call a police station,
Right.
because who else would they could they call? They would call, different departments. So we are gonna make sure that there's a clear path to making a complaint or letting us know sometimes that there's an issue before it blows up like
And
that.
it's a two-way street too. It's not only is someone for them to call if there's an issue, it's someone to reach out to them if, the system has to be shut down for an hour on a Tuesday morning or something like that. They need to know prior to it being shut down, and we need to have somebody, so it's a
Yeah.
two-way communication system, not just one way.
And the good thing too, one of the silver linings of that whole mess is that they captured a lot of names and phone numbers to put on a reverse 911, so to speak, emergency alert. So when that happens, they can get that out to the users that have given their phone numbers or their emails. So, yep.
I just have one more quick thing, Mr. Fennessy. Is there a long-term planning or funding process in place so that we don't have the problem again where the membrane only lasts 10 years and that's been 12 years and whoops, we didn't think to
Yeah.
get it 5 years before?
And talking to DEP, that was a misnomer that they even last 10 years. It should have been well before that, maybe 7 years. So that's something that the North Carver Water District Commissioners will work on, is
Okay.
putting together a program like that.
That's great.
Falls under their jurisdiction, obviously.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
yep. But I'm working closely with them, so.
that's good. Thank you.
Quick question. Following up on that. I think what we need, and I know our jurisdiction might not go into the North Carver Water District, but with everything that's happened, I think there needs to be some kind of overall evaluation from an outside third party, call it a consultant or whatnot, maybe someone from the state, that looks at it and says, looks at what happened in the past and make sure it doesn't happen in the future. What capital requirements should we have for a system like this? Is Small Water Systems the right company to be operating the system based on the things that we've had in the past? Funding, yes, but I just don't know. The new people that are on the board are great, but they have full-time jobs, and
Yep.
I know we've got someone from the town, Mr. Ball. I'm not sure, maybe the consultant could work with him. But again, I'm dancing on the line between what do we have the authority to do versus
Yeah,
what
well,
do
we have no
they have the
authority.
authority to do. But we all know we can never have happen what happened last time. So I
Yeah.
think we need someone to do an independent evaluation of the entire system.
So, and that's what Small Water Systems does. They do an independent study as they go along.
But they can't do
It
an
was made
independent
known
study of
that-
themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
It has to be somebody
I mean, it's
else.
still, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Just a thought.
Yeah, and again, I'm fortunate that we have a good relationship with the committee members, and routinely come in and sit down to talk about these things, so I'll bring that up. That may be a good idea. Again, another silver lining is that this has been shut down for quite a while now and gave them an opportunity to find all these other things that were wrong. And they're replacing those and fixing them once they dug into it, to the point where they took out the well to clean it and to repair things. So it's a lot of work, and for a small system, that when you think about a municipal system, usually it's for a whole city or a town. It's one small system, but it's caused more grief for those people, than you can imagine. Okay, the next thing I have on here is the PFAS litigation. And this was something that the chairman, Mark Townsend, suggested looking into. And there's a law firms that are working on a class action suit against companies that have caused PFAS in the water systems. And it's similar to the opioid settlement, where we really don't know who did it, but it's there, so there's the potential they're going to have a class action suit against companies that may have contributed to the PFAS. And PFAS, just for people out there, It's polyfluoroalkyl substances. That's what PFAS is. So one of the things that we have to do, and that's why it's on an update, is the board will have to meet in executive session with this law firm to go, they'll present what's going on, what they can do. The good thing is that there's no cost to the town for fees. The only thing they get out of it is when there's a settlement or an award by a court, they'll get a percentage of that award by how it's structured. And I think it's 25% of the award.
Mr. Fennessy, could you touch base with those attorneys and try to put that executive session together for one of our meeting dates?
I already did.
Okay.
And their availability is on 12/5, I believe.
Okay.
It's either 12/5 or 12/6, but I'll send out an email.
If you could just check
I'll
that.
poll everybody once I ask them for certain dates where they can meet with us. And I suggested on that Tuesday before the meeting, I think 12/5, because they had first said Monday, 12/4. But since we have a meeting on the 5th, if we can set it for that 5 o'clock.
Right, would seem a lot better for everyone if we could.
So I'm
do it
waiting to
the
hear
same day.
back from them on that.
Okay.
So we're
Thank you.
moving forward on that. And the last thing, and this is only a minor thing, November 1st, all the signatures were in, and the Habitat for Humanity's purchase and sales agreement was executed. So the next phase is to have a deed drawn up, and that's being worked on. I met with them this week, and they're very excited to get going on this project. And I am too. I'll be swinging a hammer, hopefully, for a short time, maybe once, for the photo op. And I think everybody can get involved like that. The board members and community members that may want to get involved with, and that's on 11 Green Street. So keep an eye out. I'll be making sure that we have stuff on the websites to let people know what they can do to help. So we're moving forward on that.
Great. And just quickly to circle back to the Code of Civil Conduct, just if everyone can please review that as quickly as possible. I
Yes.
do want to get that on an agenda as quickly as possible, because once we get past the first of the year, we're into town meeting discussions, and our meetings
yeah.
get a lot longer, so we'd like to move
Okay.
that along. Anything else, Mr. Fennessy?
Nope, that's about it.
All right, great, thank you. Let's see, minutes, licenses, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. We have the approval of the minutes of November 1st, 2022.
Can I stop you? I know, I'm sorry.
You go.
Try the same thing.
I was gonna ask
the
if we
poll- we
could
have the-
table the regular meeting minutes, because I didn't get my edits into Elaine. I'm not gonna be here next time, but I will get the edits into her, so you guys.
You'll get
can
the
vote on
edits ahead, you'll get
Yes.
the edits in so we can vote on them?
Yes.
Okay.
So
we'll
can
take-
I stop you here, because we had a 6:45 poll hearing.
You're right.
And it's a little after that, so.
All right.
We
That's-
can pick up these things at the end.
Thank you for watching the clock for me, Mr.
Yeah, I
Fennessy.
didn't even
appreciate it.
realize it went that late.
All right, so we will move to our 6:45 poll hearing on N-Star Verizon to install 2 mid-span poles on Shoestring Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Faye, and I'm here on behalf of Eversource regarding the Jellystone campgrounds. And we corrected the name from Mayflower Road to Shoestring Road and updated the paperwork as well. So you all should have all the updates now.
So we do have all the updates. A question has arisen as to whether those poles are already installed. Do you have any information on that?
I don't.
So, if I may, so we have pictures that they're already been installed without the authority to do so. I can,
No, I don't have any paperwork that they've been installed as of yet. Then again, all I will do is the paperwork, so
Yeah,
I'm not in
yeah.
the field.
No, I
so
understand
I'm
that.
not sure. And I haven't driven by since the last meeting because I just did the paperwork. So anything that I surveyed last time is what I assume is still out there. But I can ask the ECSDs, the service engineers, if it's already been completed.
Well, I drove by at 4 o'clock today and they were.
It's completed?
So, yeah, I took the pictures and I sent them to Bob and Mark. So the poles have been installed. So,
Mr. Fennessy, as an attorney, I'll
Yeah.
look to you for advice here, but it would seem to me we can't proceed with this hearing until we
No.
know whether the poles are installed or not.
Yeah, and I think that's a real issue, if they are installed beforehand. And it's not something that we want to put off dealing with, but I think it's important that we get to the bottom of this and see if they were installed and why were they installed without authority. Because they pose a risk to the public being installed before they're given the permit to be installed. If somebody hit that now, there'd be a lot of liability because they're not legally put in. So, I would suggest we try and make this for the next meeting
Okay, so
and
do we-
have you review that and check into, what's going on, and then bring it back for another hearing. And I hate to do this to you for, a third visit, but,
That's
we have to
fine.
get this straight.
Yeah.
we do.
Maybe, Mr. Chair, maybe you could bring the engineer with you?
Oh,
Then-
I can ask.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Fennessy, do we need a motion here?
Yeah, why don't we
continue the
motion
hearing.
to continue it to December,
How about till November 29th?
well, we don't have a meeting that day.
We're having our tax classification.
Oh, yeah, okay, we can do it after that. So if you want to do it at 5:45?
I want to make sure that that works for the board's availability. Everyone okay with that? Do we get after that?
Is that the day you're not?
I won't be here that day. So,
Would you like to be here for the poll hearing?
I would, since it was an issue that I had had. with it.
I thought that might be the
So
case.
we can do it December 5th,
This 5th or 6th?
or whatever, 6th, is the 6th a Tuesday or?
Yeah, let me just
Six.
check. that. I
Sixth
think
is
it
a
might be.
Tuesday.
6th.
I move that we continue the hearing for the whole hearing for NSTAR to December the 5th,
6th.
6th, excuse me,
Yeah,
I'll
at
second
6:30.
at 6:30?
Who seconded? Jim, you seconded?
We have a motion. Do we have a second? You second?
Yeah, second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Sorry to make you come back, but we really need the answer to this
Nope.
question.
That's fine. I'll just bring the man who put the poles in.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
See who seconded?
All right, so now we'll go back to the minutes of 11/1/22. We'd like to make a motion to
Motion
table these
to-
for the next meeting till December 6th?
Yes, can I make a motion to table the meeting minutes from 11/1/22 regular session to December 6th?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
Motion to approve the executive session minutes of November 1st and not for release.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
All right. So 4-0-1. All right. Let's see, Select Board Community Announcements. Mr. Hoffman.
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Spend time with your family and don't eat too much turkey.
Thank you. Ms. Ewens?
I will echo that comment. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Mr. Carter?
Sure, I just wanted to thank both the Sportsman's Club and the Boy Scouts for a great Veterans Day breakfast last Saturday. It was a good time had by all.
All right. Ms. Bogart?
I just want to recognize Kara Dayhill for the job that she does. I know that we mentioned that she does a lot as the records officer, but she does a lot more than that, and I don't think she gets recognized that much. So I don't think she'll see this, but I think she's underappreciated, and I know it's a lot for her. So Kara, if it gets back to you, the town is lucky to have you. So I hope that if you go to the office, know that she's doing a lot.
I
Well,
second that.
Yeah, well said. Thank you. I have just a couple of things. First of all, I also want to recognize Kara as well as all our election workers for a job well done during the election. To echo Mr. Carter's thoughts, over the last week or so, I, as well as many members of this board, had the opportunity to attend a lot of different Veterans Day events in town. I'm not going to name them all because I'm bound to forget one, but there were a number of things done and done very well, and I appreciate everything that everybody in our town did and continues to do for our veterans. And speaking of our veterans, last week we had an opportunity to dedicate the Medal of Honor Bridge here in Carver. This is a mock-up of the bridge sign that the state gave us. You can all take a look at this if you haven't seen it. And I just wanted to read a little quick blurb about our Medal of Honor winner, Lowell Maxim, that's recognized on the bridge. Lowell Maxim was born in Carver and served in the Civil War as a corporal in Company F of the 7th Massachusetts Infantry. He was awarded the Medal of Honor on August 24, 1896, for his gallantry during the Second Battle of Fredericksburg in May of 1863. His citation reads, "Though severely wounded and in the face of deadly fire from the enemy at short range, he rushed bravely forward and was among the first to enter the enemy's works on the crest of Mary's Heights and helped to plant his regimental colors there. He was honorably discharged on April 16th due to wounds he received in the Gettysburg campaign." So it was a real pleasure to honor Mr. Maxim, Mr. Reagan, and Mr. Karen on Medal of Honor Bridge. And as always, we appreciate all our veterans. And with that, that's all I have. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.